On today's episode of Titus and Tate, it is a casual Friday, Tate. It's been a while since we've done one of these, where we just kind of...
We deserve it.
You know, I think Arizona UCLA was the game of the week in college basketball. We did a live show after that game, and not to say that none of these games since then have mattered, but there hasn't been like a game that's necessarily elevated itself to something we got to get into the weeds and break down and get a granular level.
Well, I mean, we had Louisville, we had Chris Mack,
and
then we had the Arizona UCLA. We've had a lot of things that happened early in the week, and now we're just trying to take a decompress.
So we're going to decompress, take a deep breath. We have Andy Katz coming on the show to talk about a little Chris Mack talk, a little Player of the Year talk, whatever else comes up. Andy's awesome. We love having him on. Every time we have him on, it gets better than the last time. I'll say that. It is.
When was the last time we had him on? I mean, that's even the real, like, when you told me we're going to have Andy on today, I was thinking to myself, the last time we talked to Andy, we lived in a different college basketball world. So much has changed since early December. I think that was the last time we had him on.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
No wonder he's mad at us.
Yeah, no, it's been like a month.
But it's not all going to be lighthearted and fun because it is Fraud Friday. I took last week off, did not do a fraud power rankings. I'm not making that mistake again, Tate. The fraud power rankings are ready, and we will cover those. Are we going to get an ACC update? The people are asking. Okay.
I got an ACC update.
All right.
It's not going great in the ACC. You know, Andy, he explained that he thinks Duke is the best team in the ACC, but there's a lot more storylines.
You're saying not so fast.
Not so fast. A lot more storylines outside of Duke.
ACC update, frauds, Andy Katz, all that coming up. But first,
Woody Durham.
All right, casual Friday, Tate. Good vibes flowing. I don't want to dive right into the fraud power rankings. I'm just trying to delay with a little banter. How you feeling? How's life? What's going on? Jim, how are you feeling? How's everyone feeling? What are the vibes like?
You go first, Jim. How you feeling?
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Friday.
Perfect. That killed 4 seconds. All right.
I like fantastic. Yeah. That's how he's feeling. We do have a little bit of an update for the show. Maybe this can take up some time. We're going to be at press row at the Super Bowl.
Are we?
Yeah, this is big news. And Jim Cunningham, I think, has finally gotten approved to come with us. So, all three of us are going to be at press row at the Super Bowl, and we have
not at the radio, like the
radio row.
On the
no. We will not be at the actual Super Bowl, even though we should be at the Super Bowl.
It's not the Super Bowl.
No, it's just radio row before the Super Bowl. But we got some great guests. We got LT. Is going to come on the show. I mean, they sent a whole list.
Are you serious? I didn't even know that.
No, not that LT. LaDainian Tomlinson.
Oh. I thought it was that too.
I mean, I would have been excited for the real LT, but the next LT.
Tate is so good at getting scoops, Jim. That he's got scoops that I don't even like. You and I don't
about
have.
You.
About
your life.
I got a text literally 5 minutes ago that I just looked at on my Apple Watch, and it was the list of the names that we're going to interview, and one of them was LaDainian Tomlinson. And,
LDT.
LDT. That's a good name for him. LDT. So that's gonna be fun, though. I mean, I think that killed some time. Radio Row. We're gonna have a special Super Bowl episode of Titus and Tate. I never thought I would say that.
That will be fun.
I never thought I would say that ever. Like, what? Why? Why would we have
that? That is the joy of the Super Bowl, though. Is the media stuff around that right there is what Super Bowl media week boils down to. Same with Final Four, by the way. It's just a simple question: why? Like, why am I getting this? Why do I need to? Every interview that comes out of Super Bowl week is irrelevant and stupid and dumb. And we're going to be part of the problem now, and we're going to be there adding to the irrelevancy.
Well, and we talk about being disrespected all the time on the show, but the LA media scene obviously respects us. Because they were like Super Bowls in LA. Yeah. We need some LA voices.
When you think LA guys,
you think
who do you think? You think
the guy who talks about North Carolina and the guy who talks about Ohio State, Indiana all the time. That's LA, baby.
Dude, speaking of being LA, like I'm trying so hard to be LA. Like I'm not really hiding. I'm literally wearing a surfing sweatshirt right now as we're doing the show. But my life update is I had sushi last night for the first time in a long time, and I just
sick.
No, my chopsticks game is terrible, and I just wanted to acknowledge that like I'll always have that, no matter how LA I go. I'm just not like I can't do the chop. I'm not seeing the ball well right now. But like I'm good at the. It was explained to me that I'm good at like the heavy hitting. So you get a big piece, I can like get in there and like pinch it. But like you start throwing off-speed junk at me, and you got like little pieces of rice and stuff, I'm a disaster. The ginger on the plate, I'm a disaster.
In 8th grade, I went with my friend who was better off, well off, and we went to Raleigh, and we went to a sushi restaurant, and I did not know how to use chopsticks, so I was stabbing it like a fork. Like I put two of them together, and I was stabbing it in, and everyone at the table was like, "What is wrong with this redneck?"
Nice.
That's how I feel. I have no plan B. I can go for the sushi, but if it like starts to fall apart,
oh yeah,
I can't save.
What you have to realize is that like really foodie type people, they eat with their hands a lot. You know what I mean? And so you just got to jump into that. And you're just like, this is natural. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to eat with your hands.
This is
Leave it alone.
I never use chopsticks.
Never.
You never use silverware.
Vowed to my grandfather.
You never use you'd have a paper plate and just
Just a blender.
shove it in
drink
it. All right, that's enough banter.
That's
Let's
real.
talk about
That's real
frogs.
California. Just put it in a smoothie.
That's enough enough of the banter.
Yeah, that was good. I think we killed some time.
Yeah, that was
nice.
good. All right, now let's do the fraud power rankings. Let's dive into it. So I had an honorable mention. I had a late ad. So I had my top 5, and then very late, right before we started recording.
You have like Ernst and Young, like as your team that has like the card. They're like, we have the frauds, Mr. Titus. Bring them over.
And then I'm George Bush in front of the kids about to do the fraud power rank, and someone like whispers in my ear, and they're like, "There's been a change," and I got like the looks in my eye, like, "What?
Fraud power
What?
rankings.
This late?"
So many frauds.
So honorable mention, previously number 5 on the list, but there's been a late change. Honorable mention is student sections in general, and I'm going to tell you why, Tate, because the Mizzou student section, as we talked about on the last show, Missouri takes Auburn to the brink. Konzo Martin decides not to foul with a 4-second difference between the shot clock and game clock, decides to play it out. It does not work, surprisingly. Auburn misses the shot, but Walker Kessler taps around. By the time Missouri grabs the ball, the horn sounds. Missouri loses by 1. We remember what happened. And then right after that, apparently, the Missouri student section started chanting overrated at Auburn after they lost the game, and their coach lost them the game. And they almost pulled off the upset, but didn't. They started chanting overrated. Then last night, I'm watching the Minnesota-Ohio State game, and according to a friend of the program, Adam Jardy, beat writer for Ohio State beat writer, he shared this little nugget. He was at the game in Minnesota. He said that as Minnesota is down by 13, and Ohio State was at the free throw line, I believe, an overrated chant started for Ohio State by the Minnesota fans, down 13. They end up losing by 11, and they chanted overrated. So I don't know what the hell is going on with these student sections. I don't think they understand when an overrated chant is supposed to be used. It's it's the crisis, frankly, in this country that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, kids are idiots. And I think this crisis started when Mike Bray, when they chanted, the Notre Dame student section chanted, fire Mike Bray.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what they're talking
Kids
about.
these days.
Yeah, kids these days. And I think it comes down to that, you know.
Not to mention,
the kids are lost.
Ohio State's ranked 16th. I think that's like too low of a ranking to bust out overrated.
Only top
isn't it?
10.
It's got to be.
Only top 5, really.
Yeah, and you're losing by I don't know. So I had that, but there was a late change. So that is. They
were 5 and now they're honorable mention.
Yeah, you avoid being on the front.
Congratulations to the students.
Yes.
You are actually not officially frauds.
Number 5, let's get into it. This is the actual fraud power rankings. Number 5 on the list is Arizona, the Arizona Wildcats, a team that I believe before Tuesday night was the best team in the country. I no longer believe that. I told you I needed some time to sleep on it. I needed some time to really think about it.
Believe that.
I no longer believe it. In fact, not only do I think they're not the best team in the country, I think they might be frauds. Kirk Kriisa throwing the ball all over the gym, throwing it. Kirk Kriisa threw the ball everywhere there was to throw it in Pauley Pavilion except through the rim.
Yes,
he threw it everywhere else.
Yes, that literally is a game that I think they're going to come back to that later in the season. They're going to say this is the game where Kirk Kriisa really, kind of unlocked this next phase of himself. That was the bottom. That was the bottom for Kirk Kriisa. Yeah. Can't get any worse.
He simply did not make shots, and you have to make shots to win in Pauley Pavilion,
as we all know.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We talked about Arizona, UCLA, but Arizona was a team I was very high on for a ton of reasons. They play great defense. They have they're very, very tall and long and disruptive defensively. They play fast pace. They usually make shots, so it's fun to. They have been all season up until the UCLA game, to me, the most fun team in the country to watch. And I did not have fun Tuesday night watching Arizona. I enjoyed UCLA playing well. That was cool. But Arizona was not fun to watch, and for that reason, they're number 5 on the fraud power rankings. So
Congrats.
They got Arizona State on Saturday, though, at home. So that'll be a nice
be like a reset game.
Yeah, that'll be a nice palate cleanser. Number 4 on the fraud power rankings this week is Mike Woodson's suit. We have covered this extensively. That Mike Woodson, up until Michigan, just completely ripped Indiana to shreds in Assembly Hall. Mike Woodson had been undefeated in a suit jacket.
They were contemplating playing Suit and Tie by Justin Timberlake when he came out before this game.
When they beat Purdue, the student section, I believe, I don't know how well it worked if all of them did it, but I know that there was like a movement to try to organize all the students to wear suits for the Purdue game. Because like this has become a thing, the mystique, the aura of Mike Woodson wearing a suit. Indiana's undefeated when he wears a suit. All this sort of stuff is going on. They beat Purdue. My dad comes on the program, says Indiana's definitely back. Then 3 days later, Mike Woodson wears a suit to Assembly Hall, and Michigan kicks their ass. So the Mike Woodson suit era is over. Well, I mean, I guess the suit era is not over. The mystique of the Mike Woodson suit is over. It's done. It's officially dead. But I think this might be a good thing because I think this is like Baylor and Gonzaga last year, where Baylor loses to Kansas. Baylor's 18-0. They lose to Kansas. The monkey's off your back of like trying to go undefeated. You're like, let Gonzaga deal with that. Let Gonzaga take the undefeated pressures, And then Baylor ends up winning the national championship, and Gonzaga didn't. So maybe this is like one of those deals. It's like, all right, now there's no pressure.
Yeah.
Now we just actually play basketball and stop worrying about what we're wearing.
If I was Mike Woodson's advisor, I would have not let him wear a suit against Michigan, especially after the Purdue game. You know what I mean? I'd be like, this is a sweater game. This is potentially a letdown game, so let's just wear the sweater. Like
I do that with my.
Don't tip the suit.
I have my I think you've seen me wear it, the Ohio State, like the old school Ohio State sweater I have. That's my lucky sweater, the you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The OSU.
I do that where I strategically, if I think Ohio State's gonna, like I've built up in my head so much that it's a lucky sweater that if I think Ohio State's gonna lose, I just won't wear it.
Yeah.
Instead of wearing it to bring the good luck to help us win, I'm like, no, we're gonna lose, and then if we lose, I might have to throw away the sweater. So I'm just not going to wear it today.
I have a pair of Carolina socks that when I think we're going to beat Duke, I wear them. And then a lot of times we do beat Duke, and I'm very excited. But then a couple years ago, it didn't happen, and those socks no longer lucky. Yeah. So once you lose your lucky socks or your lucky item, your lucky suit, it's kind of a dark path. You're like, where do I go from here?
Exactly. That's what all my friends and family, they know. They'll call me before a bit. Like last year, great example, Ohio State football. I wear the lucky sweater to play Clemson in the playoff game. We beat the hell out of Clemson. I then look up and I realize we have to play Alabama in the national championship. Didn't wear the sweater, and friends and family were like, "Well, you're not wearing the sweater. Why aren't you bringing your luck?" I was like, "Because we're gonna lose, and I don't want to then have to take a good hard look at the sweater and say
you don't want to retire the sweater. You know what I mean? You want to keep the sweater."
So anyway, I didn't. By the way, when Ohio State last year for the NCAA tournament, when we got the news live on the air that Ohio State had COVID and couldn't participate in the NCAA tournament.
You took the sweater off.
No, I wasn't wearing the sweater.
Oh, you were?
I was wearing a different Ohio State. That's my point.
I thought you did have the sweater.
I think the sweater is magic. I do. So anyway, Mike Woodson suit, not magic. It's out. Get it out of here. Number 3 on the fraud power rankings, and this is a special one because this is a fraud that this is the genesis of the fraud power rankings. If you remember from last year, Tate, there's one team that I circled every single week, and I was like, I don't believe in them, all the way up until them going to the Final Four. The Houston Cougars.
The Cougars.
So here's the story with Houston. We 17-2 Houston Cougars, who we have not talked about a lot on the show. In fact, I can't remember us talking about
last year. Their most famous game, according to us, was Our Lady of the Lake.
Yes, they dodged Gonzaga. They invented dodging.
Yes, that was the ultimate dodge. But that was what Houston was last year to us, and then they shocked the world.
That's what triggered me. Was like when they dodged Gonzaga, didn't want to play Gonzaga, and I was like, this is so fraud. This is the most fraudulent behavior I've ever. And they played Lady of the Lake. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Our Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
It's Our Lady.
It's ours. So here's the Houston update. Houston is 17-2, as it says there on the screen. They are ranked 7th in the AP poll. I believe they were tied with UCLA, and tied for 7th. They are 6th on KenPom. And whatever algorithm that is that says the advanced metrics or whatever seem to like them. Bracket Matrix, which is a site that I think you're aware of, that compiles all of the bracketologies that exist out there.
The Lenardis, the Jerry Palms,
Mike DeCourcy's,
puts it all together. Yeah,
put them all together, spit it out, and take the average and give us the list of where all the teams are. Right now, Bracket Matrix says that Houston is a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Houston lost I believe their top 2 scorers.
They were a 2 seed last year.
Yeah, Marcus Sasser, Trayvon Mark, both out for the year for injuries. They found a way. Kyler Edwards-Tate is playing out of his mind. He's the transfer from Texas Tech, is now at Houston. Last 3 games, 25 points, 23 points, 29 points. He's carrying this team. Houston should be applauded. Kelvin Sampson should be applauded for the position they've put themselves in. So I'm not saying that like you should not be.
And last year they lost to East Carolina, and their last game they just blew out East Carolina 79-36.
Yes. So Houston is, I'm not trying to take away what they've accomplished. It's just what they've accomplished is not worthy of a
feels fraudulent.
It feels fraudulent, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I pulled up some stats here. The Houston Cougars right now have 0 quad 1 wins. What are quad 1 wins? I believe, I don't know, I don't completely understand it because the waters get murky, Tate, but I believe that we rank all of these teams in quadrants based on the net ranking.
Yes.
The top 25% represent quad 1, right? So these are the best. Is that your interpretation of how it goes?
That's how I read it.
I think that's how it goes. The Houston Cougars.
I will say, I don't go to the net rankings too.
I don't ever either.
Yeah.
I don't ever. But like, so I'm looking at Bracket Matrix and I see that Houston is a 2 seed, and all these people are saying that Houston will be a 2 seed if the tournament started today. I was like, there must be something. There must be like some sort of metric that I'm not seeing. Because if you look at Houston's schedule, their best win of the season is almost beating Wisconsin in the Maui Invitational played in Las Vegas in an empty gym. That's the best win that Houston has all season. They have not beaten a single NCAA tournament team, I do not believe. In fact, they've not beaten a single quad 1 team. That's what stood out to me because I did all the. I was like, there must be a metric. I go to the net rankings today to like figure out what maybe they're like 4-0 against quad 1, and that's what's going on. That's why everybody loves them. They're 0-2 against quad 1 teams. They lost to Alabama. They lost to Wisconsin. Those are the only teams that are even going to sniff the NCAA tournament that they've played. They've lost both of those games. As I said, their best win is literally a loss to Wisconsin. Like that's the moment you would point to be like, wow, Houston's pretty good. They almost beat Wisconsin. That's it. The only other 2 teams, and boy, maybe you plug your ears for this. Maybe I'll tell Jim this. The only 2 teams that Bracket Matrix has as making the NCAA tournament right now that have not beaten a quad 1 team are 0 against quad 1 teams. The Iowa Hawkeyes. Mm-hmm. Do you want to guess the other one?
North Carolina.
It's North Carolina.
Yeah, we know.
The North Carolina Tar Heels. That's it. And both of those teams are like fighting to make the tournament. Mm-hmm. Like they're not. I mean, Carolina's probably in. Iowa's probably in. But it's like there's not a lot of wiggle room.
They're a lot closer to the bubble than we want to admit.
Yeah. And Houston's a 2 seed. What? What are we doing? I don't like it. And
I don't know. I think it's like Kelvin Sampson has curried so much favor with the media because he was, wrongfully fired based on the current rules of things at Indiana.
Yeah.
And I think we've gone overboard. You know what I mean? We're making up too much room for Kelvin Sampson and this Houston Cougars team. But at the same time, they're Jordan brand, so I'm gonna let it slide.
There you go. In all seriousness, their best win is probably Oregon on the neutral in Vegas at the Maui Invitational. They beat Oklahoma State and Fort Worth. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. They beat Wichita State at home. I don't understand.
In the same conversation of Houston, I think Texas should be here in the fraud power rankings because Texas has 1 quad 1 win.
Yeah.
And it was Kansas State.
And the only reason
it was only what I saw. It was only because they beat Texas is why they jumped up to a quad 1 win.
I wanted to put Houston. I don't. Houston, congratulations. You've had a great season. I don't mean to take away from what you've accomplished.
I
wanted to put it on everyone's radar because you're going to look up in March, and Houston's probably going to be a 2 seed, and you're going to say they went to the Final Four as the 2 seed last year with the most Mickey Mouse Final Four run of all time. That's not even my opinion. That's a fact. That is on their banner. I think it says in the.
Oh, it's Mickey's face.
Yeah. So you're going to look up this year in the bracket and you're going to say, oh, Houston's a 2 seed. We've been here before. I'm going to go ahead and have Houston go all the way to the Final Four. I would say don't do that.
Look at that 15 seed. Look at Oral Roberts.
I would say do not do that. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Number 2, and this is the one that bumped everyone. This is the one that caused chaos in the fraud power rankings, made everyone bump because this was the late ad. John Calipari's wealth manager. Did you see this quote, Tate?
I did see this.
John Calipari was.
This is amazing.
He was asked about. Jim, you probably didn't see this. John Calipari was asked about Chris Mack being fired and his thoughts because, he's the rival coach. He's John Calipari. No matter how much he hates a coach, he actually loves him when he gets a microphone in front of his face.
Yeah.
He knows how to say the right things and all. And there's no way John Calipari likes Chris Mack, right? After
no,
like privately, there's no way he likes this guy. All the videos that.
No, I think he's enjoying the fact that he's gone.
Absolutely.
I think that's why he was willing to. He was like, "Did you guys? Anyone have a question about Louisville? Because I'll take it. I'll take it.
I would love to talk about this. He brings back his podcast just for a special Louisville episode. Cowcast. This week on the Cowcast. Like, John, you haven't done this for 4 years. He's
What's
like,
happening in Louisville?
Yeah.
Right after this.
John Calipari asked about Chris Mack. He says this. This is his quote. I'm going to read it directly. I feel bad for he and his family. Coaching is a hard profession. We're all 30 days from bankruptcy. Everybody in this profession. So I feel bad for him. John Calipari has a lifetime contract. Is making $8 million a year, $7 million,
Say 8.
Whatever it is.
Say 8.
Multiple millions.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 30 days away from bankruptcy, Tate. So who is managing this man's money? Whoever he is, he's a fraud. And this is
or is he just a bad guy? And he's like, this money that I'm making, this is trickle down economics. You know what I mean? You give it to me and I pass it down. So I don't even have this money. I'm 30 days away from bankruptcy. The kid's got all the money, so maybe that's what he's saying, but 30 days away is
30 days away from bankruptcy.
That's not good. I mean,
Meanwhile,
maybe he knew about
Chris Mack. I saw like the terms of his buyout. He's making
$133,000 a month.
A month
for
the next 3 years to not work, Jim. Chris Mack will be making $133,000. That's almost.
If you were making $133,000 a year in Louisville, living in the city of Louisville, you're a boss.
$133,000 a month is almost twice what I make. It's crazy. It's crazy. Wait.
I really died when I saw that number, though. And then I saw Chris Mack walk out of the little video they had, and he had a Bengals hat on, and he's like, I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
It's a pretty good deal. Like, I would take that not to work.
That is the most, I mean, this isn't true because there's a lot of things that's insufferable that sports media people do, as we know. But among them is the journalists, the sports media types that are so buddy with all these coaches that when guys get fired and what have you, head coaches that have $5+ million contracts, the people that pretend like now this is someone's family, this is a man who has a family, this is a man who now has to pack up his entire house and move back to a different city, maybe. His kid, he has to pull his kids out of school because they're getting made fun of by the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about the human behind all this. And it's like, yeah, we're not like trying to tar and feather the guy in the town square, but I'm also not going to lose a wink of sleep over Chris Mack not being able to
making a ton of money,
making $133,000 a month
with no responsibilities.
Yeah,
his only responsibility is to not get another coaching job.
Yeah,
that's your one job. Your one job is to not get a job.
Yeah,
and you will get $130,000.
By the way, that's what happened to Coach Mata. By the way, when he got fired from Ohio State, I was so pissed, man. I was like, rightfully so. I love the guy, and I was like, this is stupid. This is a bad decision. What are we doing?
We just fired the best coach.
Best coach in school history. I'm losing my mind. Every time I'd see Coach, I'd be like, Coach, I'm going to fight this war for you. I will not give up. And Coach Mata's like, Mark,
he's like,
you can give up the war. He's like, I'm good.
He's like, I really like what my life looks like now, Mark. Please do not fight for me.
Please stop.
I mean, it is a pretty good deal. And if you leave your alma mater, and this is kind of how it ends, like he changed his Twitter bio, Chris Mack, to retired coach.
Yeah.
It feels like he's not going to be a retired coach for long. I assume that he's going to get another shot.
I don't know, man.
But maybe he does pull a Thad. Maybe he does just.
I mean,
let it right
Thad,
out.
like I get asked about that all the time, and I don't have any insight.
Even some Louisville fans were like, "What about that for Louisville?"
I don't have. I mean, I haven't talked to Thad about whether he's coming back or not ever. I just like talk to him about whatever's going on, and then I assess from there.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, this is not a man I get the feeling that is itching to get back into it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he's in Indiana.
He's counting.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Indiana's paying him how much money to
exactly. Just like
they don't even know what his job is.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what his job is.
He's a liaison.
So Chris Mack, I'm gonna take him at his word. He might be retired. It might be it. I don't know. I would be done.
I would
For God's sakes, dude. 133. Like I would. How many millions does Chris Mack have in the bank? Probably. I need one. If I go to my bank account and I see $1 million, I'm probably quitting my job. And it might be a bad decision. I might have to like come back to work and like, I don't know, rent jet skis on
like
Venice
4 or
Beach
5 years
or something
like that. Yeah, rent jet skis.
Rent jet skis.
Yeah. Anytime you see one of your kids going to rent jet skis, you should be like, oh God, don't let him go down.
I'm gonna move to an island somewhere and just rent jet skis. That seems like a good business plan. But
Powers, we're gonna get
no, dude, I'm itching to be done with all this. Like, so I wouldn't fault Chris Mack if he's done. I don't know. Anyway,
it's an interesting quote for Calipari to say this. I mean, and I don't know in what way. You know, I don't know what he's trying to get out of this quote, but I think he really just wanted. to have
what was
to say.
the?
I think he's trying.
This is a huge misfire from Cal because he's usually pretty good at like knowing.
He should have been cheeky. This should have been kind of funny. This should have been like referencing the wrestling promo video or something. You know what I mean? He could have. He could have
said
a lot of different ways.
He could have said if they're firing him and he beat me this year, what does that say about me? Or last time, not this year. Last time we played, he beat me. What does that say about me? Ha, ha, ha,
yeah, exactly. Like he could have had some fun. But instead, this just felt just like very like, what, Cal? 30 days away from bankruptcy.
Yeah, they left out that stat in that Calipari video where he's talking about all the money the players made, right?
Yeah, the
$3
billion.
That should have been the last one. 30 days away from bankruptcy as he
$3 billion in NBA contract.
Yeah. 30 days away from bankruptcy.
This is what it takes to be a Wildcat.
Maybe Cal really is 30 days away from bankruptcy.
I mean, trigger down economics.
Maybe he's spending.
He gets all the money to the players.
Yeah.
Well, or he gave it all to Kenny Payne to pay those guys, and then Kenny Payne was keeping it.
Oh.
And then now he's going to be the head coach of Louisville.
Interesting.
With Cal's money.
He donates it to charity.
Yeah, he donates it.
That's true, Jim. Good point.
Yeah. That's a great point, Jim. Cal's going to be eating at the soup kitchen.
Lifetime contract, though.
He's never going to have to worry about it. Yeah. The only way he's ever going to lose his job is if he dies, and then you're not going to have to go bankrupt. So you're dead.
You're the man. Lifetime contract.
All right, number 1 on the fraud power rankings this week.
Woo!
This one, I'm just going to say it. The Boo Brothers.
Us. I like it. I think this is fair.
You know why? Because we promised America going into this season that we would be going.
We promised a lot.
We promised a lot.
Look at Andy. Andy's like, it's in my contract. We're like, Andy, shut up.
Shut up, Andy. We promised America that we would be going to a lot of Duke games, booing Mike Krzyzewski, helping out the home crowd, reminding the home crowd that you do not like this man. He is not your friend.
Yes.
Do not give him standing O's.
What games did we say we're going to go to? We're going to go to Ohio State.
Certainly Ohio State.
Missed that one.
Certainly
North Carolina. Going to miss
which
that
is
one.
coming up, what, next week? Next weekend?
Going to miss that one.
Going to miss that one. What else?
Those are the two.
I wanted to sneak the last game into Durham, which was going to be a pricey ticket, I know, but I was going to find a way. In my head, I was like, we're going to be there. I'm going to boo him. I think Duke Gonzaga I was going to try to go to in Vegas. I was going to boo him there. We had so many plans. We have not been to a single one. I think
but let's be honest. It's not as good as we hoped it would be.
That was what I was going to say, too. I think the Coach K farewell tour might be dead. Like, in terms of a brand or a notable thing. Like, we tried. We tried as best we could to, like, make it a thing all season.
It's honestly been embarrassing from Nike. It's been embarrassing.
I think Bruce Pearl ruined it.
Yeah.
I think the ascension of Bruce Pearl, the anointing of Bruce Pearl this
Ohio State kind of ruined it.
Ohio State ruined it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think that was the moment when I had all my Ohio State people texting me and calling me and like, when are you landing in Columbus for the Duke game? I was like, what is it? What is it you think I'm coming to?
Yeah. Where am I?
They're like, well, you're surely like I listened to the show. You even said you're coming to the Duke game to boo
in tuxedos and you're gonna boo.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't think I'm coming.
You're like, we never said that.
I was like, I'm not flying back. You know what it actually was? I'm blaming the Ohio State.
I'm blaming COVID is what I'm blaming.
I'm blaming the Ohio State football team because I think my plan originally, because the Duke game was the same week as the Big Ten championship football.
Oh, yeah.
So my plan was I was going to fly back, go to the Duke Ohio State game, drive over to Indy, go to the Ohio State Big Ten championship that they didn't play in because Michigan beat them in Michigan. So when they lost to Michigan, I was like, I'm not going back to any of it. I'm just going to be sour grapes and, cross my arms and pout. But that was probably the canary in the coal mine for the Boo Brothers when we didn't go to that game and then Ohio State pulled off the upset.
Yeah,
we weren't there.
I know, but we were watching. We were active participants.
We're booing from afar.
We're booing from afar. I think the only hope we have for the Boo Brothers is the NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Coach K and Duke are going to be in the Elite Eight, and I feel like we're going to have to be at that game.
Well, here's my question about that then. The number one rule about covering sports in the press box is you can't cheer.
Oh, yeah. We're not going as press.
But can you boo?
Oh.
They always say no cheering in the press box. Did they ever say anything about booing?
That's always like that's how they catch young people that just started. You know what I mean? Like working at a beat, like some guy like stands up and is like, let's go.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I went to the Big Ten tournament.
You can boo in the press box, I think. I think you can.
I went to the Big Ten tournament.
They might cheer you, the other people in the press, because like all they want to do is boo because they don't want to be here. So like once you start booing, it might like start like a revolution, Yeah. Everyone's standing up to boo.
I went to the Big Ten tournament. I think it was 2012, it was like right after I graduated Ohio State, and I was working at Grantland. I got a press pass. I sat front row. I sat next to John Beeline, actually, because like he was scouting, but he was sitting in a press row to scout or whatever. And I'm sitting right next to John Beeline. I had an Ohio State hat on. I had an Ohio State shirt on. I cheered for every single point Ohio State scored. And I think every single person on press row absolutely hated my guts. And now that I think about it, I don't think I've covered a Big Ten tournament since. I don't think I've gotten press pass to the Big Ten tournament since.
Everyone's reporting you. There's some Ohio State fans.
But in my mind, and I feel this way about like you and I when people like roll their eyes and do the jerk off motion about us talking about Ohio State, North Carolina too much, and this and that. It's like every single person in the media is biased. Every single one.
Everyone.
Yeah. Every single one.
Yeah.
So would you rather them like hide their biases and like not talk and pretend that they're not? And you know, and pretend that they see all this stuff equally, or you either have you and I, and we're like, listen, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I don't like Bruce Pearl. I do not. I do not hope Bruce Pearl finds success in this profession. I do not like the man. I do not. I will cheer against him every chance I get. Now, having said that, I think Auburn's the best team in the country. I think they're awesome. I would take Jabari Smith. You know what I mean? And
I kind of call it like the Billy Packer syndrome, where it's like when I was a kid and I used to hear Billy Packer, I was like, this guy hates Carolina. You know what I mean? But he would never act like he hated Carolina. And then when I got older, they're like, well, he went to Wake Forest and he's like, hates Duke, hates Carolina.
Wouldn't it mean more to you?
And I was like, I learned that, but I was like, I wish I just knew that, because instead as a kid, I'm like,
you're getting fired up about it.
I'm losing my mind.
But
like,
wouldn't it be more helpful if Billy Packer's like, hey, how you doing, everybody? Billy Packer here, hate Carolina. But then when he's like, I think North Carolina is the best team in the country, that would carry some weight. Exactly. Like, oh my God, even Billy Packer said
that's what I hope that I'm doing here with Duke. You know, I mean, I hate Duke with a passion, but this year I expect them to win the ACC.
Anyway, we're frauds. We have not been to a single Duke game this year.
I just like the branding of the Boo Brothers more than like the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like I like the idea of it in my mind more than like you and I having to put on tuxedos and fly somewhere and go do something. You know what I mean?
Get a hotel room, and now we're taking Ubers again, and like who knows what the traffic's going to be like? Am I going to throw up
after our 2-hour Uber to Jamaica, Queens? I think
I don't know. It might be easier to just watch on TV. Yeah. If they come to if Duke plays
in LA,
we're going. I'm there probably.
Anaheim, I won't go.
Almost certain.
Anaheim, I can't make. LA, I can make.
All right, let's talk to Andy Katz.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, joining us now is Andy Katz, a man who needs no introduction on this program. Andy, let's dive right into it. Let's
the best friend of the program.
Yeah,
that's what we call him.
I know you're a busy man.
Although I've been left behind, I thought I was contractually obligated to appear regularly. Clearly, you two have violated the contract, and the lawyers will be contacting you.
Yeah,
regularly to us is like every 2 months.
Yeah, no kidding. Like Andy, I got to be honest. I can't even. I'd have to go back and listen to the show to make sure that I've been on every show that we've done. So like, I don't think. But no, we're doing our best, Andy. I mean, we're here. Let's listen. I would love to joke around with you, but there are very serious matters, college basketball, that we have to talk about. Let's just get right into it. What are the chances that Rick Pitino is back at Louisville?
Yes.
We need to know.
Oh my God.
Odds.
Hit us with it, Andy. We can take it. Just
Zero.
tell us.
0.1.
0.9%, you would say? Not 0.0.
The only way that's happening. So you didn't ask the full context of the question. To me, the only way that would happen is if they also bring back Tom Jurich.
Oh,
okay. Because there's an interim president, there's an interim AD, interim coach. So now, if you want to get the whole band back together, get Tom Jurich there, and then bring in Pitino. I don't know. You want to bring in Bobby Petrino? You know, bring him back too.
So you're telling me there's a chance then?
Bring the Enos.
That's what I heard. I heard there's a chance. I heard.
By the way, we knew this would happen. Knew it. I saw it was reported earlier on Friday that Bruce Pearl, they're working on an extension. Come on, we knew Bruce should pay everyone that floated his name. Yeah, because I knew this would happen. There was no way Auburn was going to just let him go to Louisville.
So I guess like we all saw the story. We saw that the Louisville job was open for about 15 minutes, I'd say. And Bruce Pearl's name, you already saw people tweeting.
It was shot to the moon. Yeah.
You already saw people tweeting like Louisville's going to reach out to Bruce Pearl. There might be interest on Bruce Pearl's side, and you know,
so much interest.
The smart people, as you said, Andy, kind of knew what was going on. That Bruce was angling for an extension. But could it be both?
Or more cash?
Yeah, more cash. Yeah. Could it be both though? Is there
Yes, but you're not just going to get years. You want the you want the cream.
But my question is, could it be both? Could it be that Bruce Pearl is trying to get Auburn to step to the plate, but then also, does that mean just because we all know that that's what's going on right now, does that mean we remove him as a candidate, or is he still actually a serious candidate, do you think, for Louisville moving forward?
I do not think he's a serious candidate. I did not think he was a serious candidate for Maryland. I do not think Scott Drew's a serious candidate for either of those jobs.
Okay.
Both coaches have established themselves clearly. I mean, obviously Drew has for a much longer period of time. He won a national championship. I don't see Scott leaving. It's just not in his DNA. The job I could see Scott, believe it or not, leaving for is Kentucky when that opens.
Ooh.
I don't see him going for another rebuild job at Louisville, which I think it is. I don't see that. And the fan base is impatient, which I understand why, but I don't. And with Bruce, the fact that Auburn basketball is number one, that he has weathered, an NCAA deal, a suspension,
a show calls penalty.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You want to go back on Bruce, think about his career from the mascot. Okay. He was the Eagle. All right. He was the Eagle.
One of the biggest scandals in college basketball history, by the way.
Can we say that he was at Boston College during the point shaving scandal as well, which is not his fault, but it's just like a hilarious coincidence.
Or is it a coincidence?
No, he was chasing around Keno Davis. Keno Davis was like little Keno Davis, and he was running around practices, and Bruce was like the babysitter in the costume. And then he goes to Iowa with Tom, and he gets embroiled in that scandal because he gets, helps Illinois, gets Illinois on probation, essentially.
Reports Illinois.
So the Illini fans hate him.
Yep.
Then, career all over the place in Southern Indiana, Milwaukee to the tournament, Tennessee #1. That ends badly with your teammate there, who was supposed to go to Tennessee with the barbecue, Aaron Kraft. And then, then he's out. He's on TV. Now he's at Auburn. Violations. Boom. #1 in the country.
That should be his Wikipedia.
It's an unbelievable career.
Violations.
I want someone listening to that to just transcribe everything Andy just said and make that Bruce Pearl's Wikipedia page,
et cetera,
yada yada.
And he's a great motivator. He's a great
basketball coach.
Wins.
Yes.
Okay, so I promise we're not going to talk all about Louisville, but that's kind of the big picture topic in college basketball right now, and I'm just interested because you're like actually a journalist. We're just a couple slapdicks that like to talk about nonsense.
And we scoop some things every once in a while.
No, and by the way, don't diminish yourself because Tate Frazier to your left or across from you, however this is in the Zoom, did an outstanding job. Breaking I believe multiple stories, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I know at least one.
Yes.
That he did not receive credit for.
Yep.
And he should have.
Yep.
Thank you, Andy.
So
also put this on my Wikipedia.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
So I think he deserves much more credit than he has received. So don't take yourself. I mean, you don't have to take yourself too seriously.
No, we're the Rodney Dangerfield of podcasting. We get no respect.
Andy,
okay.
Well, so here's the thing. I got to throw this out at you because I got crushed by certain fans when I echoed this that Pat Forty had put out on his list. So look, obviously Kenny Payne seems like the natural choice if it happens. Of course, it makes sense. But on that long list, I do think there's. I like the name of Mark Pope. I don't think it's gonna happen, but
I like the name a lot.
I do like the name for a couple of reasons. A, high character guy.
Yes.
B, plays an exciting style.
Yep.
He is incredibly energetic. He bounces off the walls. He would love and embrace that atmosphere because he's done it, 20,000 at the Marriott Center when they've had, fans. Yes, he played at Kentucky, but look, they hired Rick Pitino. I think he'd be great at it. Now, a bunch of Louisville fans poo-pooed me on that because he was just one name on a long laundry list. But
I think it's the
I
cultural.
do think that would be interesting.
I think it's the cultural part that if I'm picturing like what the programs stand for, Louisville and BYU cannot be on further spectrums.
Yes.
But they don't know Mark Pope. They think Mark Pope is BYU, but
Yeah.
Mark Pope is a separate
Right.
entity.
Yeah, I just think he would get whiplash like going from BYU to Louisville to like horse races at
Hey, listen,
Churchill
Mark
Downs.
Pope could handle Kentucky.
Yes.
That's
He
true.
could handle Kentucky.
That's all right. Okay. All right.
I like that Kentucky fans would be upset about that too. You know what I mean? You gotta hire someone that's gonna kind of rub them the wrong way.
Literally every single coach at Louisville has to have former ties to
So,
UK.
yes.
Patino.
Well, look,
and
if they
Pope.
hire Kenny Payne,
That's true. Too.
I mean,
Yeah,
Kenny
that's what I
Payne
mean.
obviously is Louisville, but he
But
coached
he
with
coached
Cal
with
at
Cal.
Kentucky.
Yes.
How about this?
Hey,
What?
one last thing.
Go
One
ahead.
last thing before we move on. I'm curious. If you were to look at the two jobs, because I think this would be an interesting debate,
Yeah.
because the job that's getting lost here that's also open is Maryland.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any question that Maryland is a better job for getting players.
Right.
It's not even close.
Right.
Agreed.
In terms of where it's located, the district, Virginia, Baltimore, all that. There's been so many great players. Not the case in Louisville at all. You could make an argument, fan bases, Big Ten, ACC, I would take Big Ten. So I think it's an interesting debate about where those two jobs rank, one versus the other one. Everyone assumes that Louisville is such a better job.
Right.
But don't dismiss Maryland if you were to compare the two.
I love this point, Andy, because that's how I feel. I feel like they're 1A, 1B. And depending on your preference, you can, decide which one. But Maryland is a little untapped right now. And I think if you get the right coach in there, they could really blow up. But I don't know who that guy is. That's the problem with Maryland. I can't really see who that guy is.
It's interesting, Andy, because as you were saying it, my gut, without even thinking, which is kind of how I work on the show more often than not, I would say Louisville definitely is the better job without. And then as you just kept talking, I was like, or is it? And now I'm completely stuck. I do. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Louisville feels like it has more Louisville feels like they've been more relevant, and it might be for bad reasons. I mean, I just gauge it on like, what do you and I talk about more? Are we spending more time talking about Louisville, or are we talking about Maryland? We talk about Louisville more often, but it's probably because their assistant coaches are extorting their head coaches. They have strippers in dorm rooms. They have
a title taken away.
Yeah, they have titles taken. Is this a
By
good
the way,
thing?
the lesson learned here is never, ever dismiss Bill Murray as a fan.
Ooh, there you
you
go.
do that.
There you go.
You do that. You've lost it. That was the end of Chris Mack. When he got rid of Luke Murray, which meant Bill Murray was out. Forget it.
Yeah.
You get rid of your mentor, Dino Gaudio, and Bill Murray / Luke Murray. What are you doing? I mean, that really was it.
I think, by the way, to answer the question, I think it ultimately comes down to if you're like, say, a guy like a Scott Drew or a Mark Few, or like one of these guys that like could take any job they want. Bruce Pearl, could probably take Maryland or Louisville if he really wanted. I think it just comes down to like what the culture of that area of the country is, because Maryland is the East Coast, and they're both fan bases are nuts in their own ways, but there's a different way they go. And so for me, I'm a Midwest guy, and you think Louisville's in the South technically, but Louisville's close enough. I feel like I could handle those people. If I went to Maryland and I was the head coach, I would be overwhelmed from day one. So for
Maryland,
me,
you're getting hit on both sides because you got the Northeast and you got the South.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's the calculus you have to do as to like.
Well,
which
the
job
other
is-
thing too, and look, I don't want to date us both or three of us, but I thought in that story that Brandon Quinn did for The Athletic, Gary Williams made a great point, which is the young people, kids, whatever you want to call them, teenagers that are coming up now that are going to Maryland as freshmen. They don't remember the ACC.
Yeah.
They only remember the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And it's all of us that think of, Maryland, Duke, Maryland, Carolina, Maryland, Virginia. Well, I mean, that's just in our memories, but everyone younger, that's all they know is the Big Ten.
They don't even know Grievous Vasquez.
With that, though, like if you're talking about these kids from the East Coast, these kids from D.C., Maryland, one thing I think might work against them, maybe this is just my own, I don't know if this is real, but like if Maryland's in the ACC, you have these kids that live on the East Coast that maybe they're not Maryland fans or whatever, but you're recruiting them and you're telling them to come play for Maryland so you can play the Northwesterns and Minnesotas and Nebraska and Iowa, and like these are the teams you're going to compete against. Versus like back in the day, Maryland was playing against all the teams that like these kids on the East Coast like grew up watching or cheering for or cheering against, whatever. I wonder if that works against them in recruiting, but then they've been recruiting really well. So I guess, I don't know, maybe that's not the problem. I don't know. But that is
the other thing too, the other thing too is that while yes, they would have played Virginia home and home with a 15 team, or could have been 16 team ACC, there was no guarantee they were always going to get Duke and Carolina at Maryland.
That's true.
So it wasn't like that game was always going to be there. Virginia, yes, because that was going to be their, their pair. I think. I mean, I know Virginia Tech was Virginia, but my understanding was that they were at least going to play Virginia all the time. But still, clearly it was not going to be the same as it was prior.
Let me ask you this. Let's pivot away from the coaching vacancies. Other than coaching vacancies, other than say conference races, like who's going to win the Big 12 and who's going to win the Big 10 and all that, would you say is the number one thing you are looking for or excited about to watch unfold between now and the start of the NCAA tournament?
Well, I'll tell you two things. One, the player of the year race is as wide open as I can remember.
I love your tiers, by the way, Andy. The player of the year tiers, it really helps me try to see the full landscape.
I saw Fox put out the video of him, and on the graphic it said Andy's player of the year tiers 1/27 because that was the date, January 27th.
Yeah.
I saw it as like this is the first tier out of 27, and I was like, oh my God, Andy's lost his mind. I thought Andy had 27 tiers. I was like, oh no.
Tier 27, Max Asmus at Oral Roberts.
No, but I mean, like, think about this grouping, and I do think, and one thing about college basketball is there are multiple player of the year awards. You've got the Naismith, Wooden, Rupp, AP, Robertson, Sporting News. I mean, that's whatever, 6 or 7 right there. I would not be shocked if a different player won a couple of these.
Yeah.
Oscar Tshiebwe, for me right now, he's at the top with the numbers, but Ochai Agbaji has been unbelievable in his game against Texas Tech. And oh, by the way, they play against each other on Saturday. Johnny Davis, the last couple of games has slid a little bit, but he still has some player of the year games. The 30 against Houston, the 37 against Purdue.
Yep.
Drew Timmy's putting up Mickey Mouse numbers, but do we look at it the same because it's in the WCC right now? And then what do you do in the Big Ten with the other guys? Keegan Murray's leading scorer in the country, Kofi Coburn when he's healthy, EJ Liddell, who had a great game on Thursday night against Minnesota. So there's so many other candidates.
What about Johnny Juzang? Is there a chance that Johnny Juzang makes a late push?
So I had him on, I think tier 2, 3, I can't remember. But I think there is a chance because he's starting to come on again.
Yeah.
And it's weird. UCLA, they were down for so long that it was a little off the radar. And then what didn't help, I'm in Chicago this week. And so it wasn't a bad time for me to watch it at 10 o'clock. But that makeup game against Arizona was unfortunate that it was on so late on the East Coast that I think people might have just not stayed up. I mean, Benedict Mathurin is another player, obviously, that's had a great year that deserves to be on that list. And he was on the tier list.
That is, I mean, it really is wide open. Every time Tate and I talk about this, we have a new guy. It was Drew Timme at the start of the season. Then Banchero outplays him in Vegas. And suddenly you're like,
and we crowned Johnny Davis at one point. We were just like, Johnny's the guy.
EJ Liddell, I think, after the Duke win. EJ Liddell after Ohio State beat Duke, I was like, man, I think EJ Liddell might be the national player. That we've been all over the place, and that is a good call. I'm leaning at Agbaji right now, but like I think how much like what goes into you? Do you have a vote for this stuff? By the way, do you vote on ultimately?
I have a Naismith vote.
Okay.
I used to have a Wooden vote, and I think years ago I might have had an AP vote. And then obviously I do my own thing with March Madness in terms of doing that. But, to answer what I think you were going to ask, anticipate you, to me, it's not like my issue with Keegan Murray. And you could argue with Max Asmus last year, but yes, numbers are great. But in big games, he has not had like that player of the year game.
Right.
Where you say, oh my, and you can really say that for sure Johnny Davis and Agbaji have had those. Tshiebwe's numbers are crazy, but will he have one of those games against, because he didn't against Auburn. Okay, Jabari Smith is another name that obviously we have to, we have to be on there, and he is. But tomorrow, I think the Saturday game against Kansas, if Kentucky wins that on the road and Tshiebwe goes for 22 and 20, that's a player of the year type moment / game.
There's definitely going to be a sense of this is Agbaji versus Shibwe, even though they will not guard each other.
This might be the national player of the year game.
But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's going to be boiled down to this is those two guys. I think what works against Shibwe though is Andy. I'm just being devil's advocate because he would be a very worthy player of the year certainly, but the fact that every time he doesn't call out a screen and one of his guards gets blown up and has to come out of the game, Kentucky then falls apart. And my question is like, can the national player of the year, if he's on the floor, but everyone watching knows that Kentucky has no chance now, even though this guy's still on the, you know what I mean? Like I'm doing that math in my head of like, we're all watching the Auburn game and we're like, Kentucky has no chance of winning this game. And yet Oscar Tshiebwe's going to be the player of the year.
And we talked about this with Kofi too. Like when Kofi's out of the game, sometimes Illinois looks a little bit better. The offense looks better. So
I don't know.
By the way, think about this. I can't ever remember. I mean, obviously the transfer situation is bigger than it's ever been, but have we ever had a player of the year as a transfer? You know, get some stat person on that because I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Was Larry Johnson? Was he was a JUCO guy though, right?
Well, he was junior college transfer.
That's true.
Which I'm not diminishing that, but a traditional 4-year transfer who was at one school 1 year. And I know he arrived mid-year last year at Kentucky, but still.
That's a great point.
You know, for whatever reason, it didn't work out at West Virginia, and it's clearly working at Kentucky.
That's a great point.
I was thinking like, you know, Gathers, Bo Kimball from USC to LMU.
Yeah, but they never. They never.
Yeah,
they wouldn't. Yeah. Interesting. Jim, look that up. Jim.
Quickly, Andy, can I ask about, I mean, at the beginning of the year, we talked about UCLA, Gonzaga. That felt like, you know, the narrative as we led into the season. And then Gonzaga, they lose to Alabama. You know, they kind of fall out of favor a little bit. You mentioned UCLA with the COVID stuff. Was it reinvigorating to see UCLA look like the tournament team? Because when we watched them against Arizona, it felt like we got a team back into the fold. You know what I mean? I felt like UCLA was falling off the map a little bit. And then it felt like, oh, yeah, this is the team that we all believed in. So did you feel that as well? Because I know you were high on them at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of feel like that across the country, that we're starting to see the teams we all thought, they're rising back up. And the other one I will tell you is Purdue. You know, Purdue just basically ran past Iowa on Thursday night. They won at Illinois. I kind of feel like Purdue's going to just they're going to win the Big Ten. I just believe it that they're going to ultimately be there, even though the Rutgers crazy ending. And UCLA, as good as Arizona's been, they just beat them. I think USC was undefeated. Now they faltered a little. Like, I just feel like UCLA is going to win it. The Oregon game's kind of a little bit of an anomaly because of no fans.
I mean, it was good for the Pac-12, though. I feel like that game might have been for the Pac-12. You know, for Oregon, now they're a tournament team because they beat USC and UCLA.
Tate also had the conspiracy theory that UCLA's with Jordan Brand now, and Oregon's obviously Phil Knight's baby. So he thought that UCLA threw the game.
They owed him
Phil
one.
Knight.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll give you another one near and dear to your heart, Tate, is Duke. As, even though Miami beat them and, had the unbelievable shot to beat Virginia Tech, at the end of the day, I know they lost to Florida State, they lost to Miami. Miami got swept by Florida State. I just feel like Duke's going to win the league.
Yeah.
So
it feels
Duke's going to win the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue's going to win the Big Ten. UCLA is going to win the Pac-12. Villanova, yes, they lost to Marquette, but I still believe Villanova is going to end up, and I know Providence in first, that they'll end up winning the Big East. And I actually thought in the preseason, Kansas was better than Baylor. There was a time, obviously, it looked like Baylor was better than Kansas. But I think Kansas will ultimately win the Big 12.
Mm.
And in the SEC, I didn't have Auburn.
I did not.
Who did?
Who did? Yeah. So let's do. I think I asked you this a month or so ago when you were on, Andy. Let's reassess. If you were grouping teams together, and I know you might not have a list of teams in front of you, so we might throw some out there to help you out. But if you were trying to come up with the list of teams as it stands right now, as we're about to approach February, that have a national title or bust mentality, which is to say, if they do not win the national championship, they will ultimately look back on this season as a failure. How many teams?
Failure might be strong, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, then is it 0? I mean, because like last year, Gonzaga and Baylor were definitely on that list. Wouldn't you say? Like Gonzaga, the list was Gonzaga and Baylor. Like both of these teams, one of them's gonna have a. I mean, you can sugarcoat as much as you want and pat Mark Few on the back for going undefeated at the title game. They ultimately fell short of their goal, right? Like that's what happened. So right now, who? Because I don't think Auburn's number 1 in the country. I don't think Auburn has that mentality necessarily.
No, I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah. So who would you put on that list, Andy?
I will answer your question.
Okay.
I think there are 3 teams, maybe 4, that fit your criteria. Maybe 5, and I'll explain.
Okay.
For sure, Gonzaga.
Yep.
Because they know this is it with Chet Holmgren and likely Drew Timme. Okay, so this is title or bust. I think with UCLA, because all these guys came back.
Yep.
And they're not going to come back next year. So that's UCLA. That's 2. I would say Kansas because of Abaji.
Yep.
And McCormack. And, Remy Martin transfers there. So that's 3 that I would think it's like we got to win it or that's it. And I would also say that if you wanted to put Purdue in that, I would.
I definitely
because
would. Yeah.
Purdue, with Travion Williams back, Zach Edey, I can't see him staying. Jaden Ivey's not going to stay. So this group built it up for it. So I put Purdue there. And then the other one that I would put in this grouping, but only because of it changed quickly, and that is Illinois. Because they didn't think they were getting Kofi Coburn back. So that wasn't their thinking, in June. Okay. That he surprised everyone, when he withdrew from the draft and then came out of the portal. So getting Kofi back, Curbelo had said he was going to stay, and obviously he's not been healthy, but, Coburn, as you said, I mean, he changes everything with them, and that was not expected. So then once he comes back, and everything starts going well, they're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we could win the title.
Yeah.
So they're sort of on the fringe. And, I'm hesitant to put Duke in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Coach K and all that would want to do that. But as good as Boncaro is and can be, I think Wendell Moore, at least to the outside world, has been better than projected. And so I think they've become more of a title contender, a little bit of a surprise. That all, Trevor Keels, AJ Griffin, all these pieces, as talented as they are, I'm not quite sure if you put truth serum in there that they thought they could actually win the championship.
Yeah.
And now they do.
Yeah. I think Duke has to be on there for the
I think if Coach K doesn't
and-
make the Final Four, he comes back.
I think if Coach K does not win a national championship this year, it tarnishes
No.
his entire legacy. I think it tarnishes his. I think you flush everything he's accomplished down the drain. It doesn't
all
count.
I know is this: John Wooden won a championship in his last year. That's all I know.
Oh man. Anything else, Tate? What do we have to? Oh, I was going to ask you this. I wrote this down because to bring it full circle and back to the Louisville job, because you are the actual journalist on the show right now. And we need help for those of us at home. You're sourced, Andy, so you know these things. Like you can, if you want to know where Louisville's leaning, you can call the Louisville president that doesn't exist or the Louisville athletic director that doesn't exist right now. We don't have that privilege on this show, and the people listening don't have that privilege, but they want to be in the know. They want to be on top of things. So my question, Andy, as just regular Joes like us that don't have sources, what would you say is the better way to get a sense of where a school is leaning with coaching hires? Would it be tracking private planes, like a certain fan base in Bloomington, Indiana did when they were tracking flights from Massachusetts to Bloomington and stuff? Or would you say what I do is a better use of time, which is Google the wives of coaching candidates and figure out where they're from and whether they're telling their husband, I want to move closer to where I'm from? What do you think is a better tip for people to try?
Or just see which coach is hot in March.
Yeah, whoever wins whatever mid-major coach goes to the Sweet 16,
Yeah.
that's the one.
The Porter Moser.
Here's what's difficult. I do think in the Zoom world, I wouldn't be shocked if we see less of these secret meetings and private jets, all over the place. Ultimately you want to have a face-to-face before you invest millions of dollars in someone. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that's going to be the final thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of conversations like this. And then, that could end up just being the capper of the face-to-face. So I think it's made it more difficult. And I also will say this. Let me throw this at you. More challenging for journalists, at least in the short term in COVID, because building relationships, at least in my career, and I think this is imperative, is face-to-face.
Yes.
And with so much limited access, hopefully we'll get better. It's certainly better in the South we can go in a blue, red, purple, but it makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
Because there's been limited access to create those relationships.
Because you have to go get just sloppy drunk with like coaches and administrators and all that kind of stuff. So you have things to blackmail them with. And so now they have to give you scoops, or else you're going to tell everybody about the time we went out in Vegas. And that's what journalism. Of course, we get what you're saying.
Way back when I was a beat writer, when I first started in New Mexico, I would go on a noonday run with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I would always just do that. And that was my way of just getting to know everyone, them feeling comfortable with me. And it was non-confrontational. It wasn't like I was getting any favors. I had to run too. And,
you had to work for your scoops.
Yes. So I used to do that all the time. The staff always went for like a noonday run, and I would run with them.
That's awesome. Think that our thing is we need to call it Mick Cronin and figure out when he runs or walks, and we try to walk with him. Yeah, like in a distance, social distance walking.
Speaking of face to face,
hey, weather's beautiful out there. You don't need the mask outside. Come on.
There you go.
Speaking of face to face, you're going to be out here soon, right?
Yes.
Andy,
That is the rumor.
All right.
Well, because I physically have to fly there to make sure you put me on this show.
Right.
Love it.
He's going to be banging down the doors to let me on. Well, we will. I don't know. Is that the next time he's going to be on, or is he going to be on next week? I don't know.
I think we have to make it more regular.
We do
I
have
feel
to make
like
it more regular.
Yeah.
Well, I'm around. You can call me anytime.
You're the best, Andy. You knock it out of the park every time you come on here. Thanks so much. We will have you back on when we have you back
ASAP.
All I know is I'm a stat stuffer. I'm like filling this podcast.
Yeah,
really
no, we needed it.
You really are.
And the people at home want it. They're like, bring Andy back and get us some real news.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, thanks, guys.
I need to hear an ACC update.
Yes.
Soon enough. But before we do that, we got to do the Big Ten Stat of the Week, brought to you by Discover. When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense. Big Ten Stat of the Week. I'll let you go first. Do you have one that stands out?
Whew. Every single week. I mean, every single day I wake up, I get a Big Ten Stat of the day. And it's not even that I want one. I just wake up and it somehow finds its way.
This might be our strongest brand.
Yes.
I really think that, like, if I sat down and really thought about it, this might be the thing that
And if you go on Twitter and you just type in Big Ten Stat of the day, you can learn so much about the Big Ten and really all of sports because there's so many Big Ten stats of the day. You know what I mean? But my one this week that really stuck out to me, this is my stat of the week. A lot of the days that build up to a week, Illinois basketball tweeted this: most top 10 wins. And you see that and you're thinking to yourself, okay.
Huge graphic.
Yeah, huge
Alfonso
graphic. You're like
Trent Frazier on the graphic.
Yeah, you're like most top 10 wins Illinois basketball ever. No, not quite. Not number 1, which is Baylor at 10. Number 2 is Illinois at 9. And then you start thinking to yourselves, there was only 10 top 10 wins ever. This seems not right.
Yeah.
But again, it's Big Ten Stat of the Week. Then you look at the asterisk and it says the last 3 years. So in the last 3 years, Illinois has the second most top 10 wins. That is 9. Number 1 is Baylor at number 10. But Big Ten Stat of the Week, Illinois, number 2, most top 10 wins in the last 3 years.
Absolutely absurd graphic.
Absolutely absurd graphic. Absolutely absurd stat. Who had that stat? The Big Ten.
The Big Ten. The other great part about Big Ten Stat of the Week is that these Big Ten schools always find a way. It's like it's not just
so much so that you think they might be in on it.
Yeah,
you think they might know?
They probably do.
I think they do.
What it is.
Yeah, and if you're running the,
I know that Purdue and Wisconsin definitely know. I have confirmed.
Purdue. If Purdue doesn't know, then it's a problem.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Based on what they tweet.
I don't know if they do it on purpose or not at this point, but they definitely know, and they'll purposely. Yeah,
they know what's going
on. But it's always that's what always stands out to me is that it is always a big. Every time we do Big Ten Stat of the Week, there's always a Big Ten team. It's not just like the stats are absurd because you could find stuff these sorts of arbitrary marks transcend college basketball. You see them in NBA teams and NFL and like whatever. Pick a sport. There's someone out there that's like, this is the first time since this. But Big Ten basketball teams always find a way to tweet these out every single week.
And not only do they tweet it, they make a graphic for it. Yes. I think that's like the next step of like, we're going to do this and make sure you know.
So here's my pick.
I love it.
Because there's always more than one too.
Exactly.
Yours is Illinois. Great pick. Here's mine. From Michigan State basketball with a hat tip to the ESPN stats and info. There was this tweet with the fire flames emoji. Coach Izzo has the third most all time, double-digit road wins over AP top 10 teams. Tom Izzo.
Say that again for me. which is the staple of the Big Ten stat.
Yep. Third most. So there's two guys that have beaten him, but that's okay.
Do we know who the other two are? They don't even acknowledge the other two.
I don't have that information. It's like Kevin Ollie and and Vic Bubas.
You don't need to know. Yeah, Vic Bubas number one for sure.
Coach Izzo has the third most all-time double-digit road wins over AP top 10 teams. So there's your stat. There's my Big Ten stat of the week. That is congratulations to Tom Izzo. Very, very big. There was an honorable mention, by the way. Stan Van Gundy tweeted that the Wagner brothers, Franz and Mo, who played at Michigan, so it's technically a Big Ten stat, combined for 41 points versus the Bulls this past week. And Stan Van Gundy said that's the most by two brothers on the same team since Giannis and how do you say his brother's name? Thanasis Antetokounmpo combined for 43 2 weeks ago versus Charlotte. That was a funny
2 weeks ago.
He was being cheeky, right?
Yeah, he had to be funny. I think he actually got in trouble calling a Magic game because he was talking about Mo Wagner and Franz Wagner as the same Wagner.
Oh,
like
really?
He thought it was just like there can only be, of course, one Wagner on the team. So maybe that led to him acknowledging that the two of them combined. I don't know. I just remember that game. I remember watching that and being like, those are different players, different guys. They're brothers.
There you go. Big Ten stat of the week brought to you by Discover.
Oh, I love that.
Moving on. ACC update. What do you got?
Oh,
Tell the people what's going on in the world of the ACC.
Woof.
All right, moving on. That's it. That's the ACC update.
That's really the start of it. Andy Katz, you just heard him come on. He says Duke's going to win the ACC. But it's not so fast because Miami right now is still atop of the ACC. And you mentioned bracket matrix. So I started doing my who's going to get into the ACC? What are the seeds of these teams? And as you start to put it together, I just looked at Lenardi. Miami's a 9 seed right now, according to Joe Lenardi. They are number 1 in the ACC, but they are going to be a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Miami is number 1. That's got to be the worst.
That has got to be the worst.
Lowest
yes,
exactly. ACC champion.
Exactly. Maybe Georgia Tech's. I don't remember last year where they were. I think they ended up being an 8 or 9 seed. Duke is the number 2 seed in the ACC. They're going to be a number 2 seed, according to Lenardi. So the number 1 in the ACC is going to be a 9 seed, but the number 2 is going to be a number 2 seed in the tournament.
In all seriousness, our hatred for Duke aside, has Duke, which I don't even hate Duke. I just think
you don't hate.
I don't hate. I actually don't.
Jim loves Duke.
I think Duke's when Duke's good, I love it. It's like the Zion team is one of my favorite teams ever. And I love Duke in the early 2000s. Yeah, I actually don't hate Duke.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't hate Duke.
Yeah.
But do you think Duke has squandered their chance at a 1 seed? Does Duke have a path to a 1 seed?
Yes. There's always a path for Duke to a 1 seed. There's always a path. No matter what. Even last year when they missed the tournament, there was still a path to a 1 seed. It's like if they won the ACC tournament, everyone's like, Duke's hot, dude. Don't let them in the tournament because it's going to be a problem. I think there's definitely still a path. I think the craziest stat of the season so far is that they beat Clemson by 2 points.
Yeah.
You saw this? Everyone saw this? Clemson shot 1 free throw.
Whoa. That doesn't happen at Cameron Indoor Stadium, does it?
2-point victory, 1 free throw. Andy Katz comes on the show after that last game and says, I think Duke's going to win the ACC. So that's an ACC update for you there. Duke plays at Notre Dame, who's the 3 seed in the ACC on Monday.
I was going to ask about Notre Dame. What happened to them?
They're still up there, 6-2 in the ACC. They're the next 4 out, according to Lenardi. So they're not even going to make the tournament, even though they're a 3 seed in the ACC. The 4 seed is Wake Forest, who has a National Player of the Year candidate, Alanis Williams.
I wanted to ask you about him because Tom Haberstroh, who's been on the friend of the program, Tom Haberstroh,
Wake Forest correspondent.
Wake Forest correspondent. I see him putting out the propaganda, the Alanis Williams propaganda, at any chance he can about how great of a passer he is, great of a scorer he is. And he's I don't know if he's making the case for National Player of the Year, but he's certainly making the case that like Alanis Williams should be recognized more. But it's hard to tell. Is this just propaganda, Tate, or is this,
Not
is this legit?
Wake Forest embarrassed North Carolina in basketball. And I haven't said that, I mean, since the 90s, Randolph Childress, get up.
Yeah.
Like that is probably the last time I felt like Wake Forest embarrassed North Carolina in basketball. Alondes Williams was responsible for that. He's a graduate transfer. We talked to Andy about a transfer being up for National Player of the Year. A transfer might win ACC Player of the Year in Alondes Williams. So Wake Forest, Steve Forbes, shout out to them. They're an 8 seed according to Lenardi. North Carolina's right behind Wake Forest. They're a 12 seed according to Lenardi.
As you said last time, not as far back as you think.
Not as far back as you think, but so far back in our hearts. You know what I mean? Just like lost in the abyss. In North Carolina, there's some more coming. A storm is brewing. You know what I mean? I think some more things are going to be coming out about this North Carolina team. We'll see what happens, but they play State tomorrow, Saturday, at home.
Mm-hmm.
Sebron's one of the best players in the ACC for NC State, and Roy Williams is going to be in the building, getting honored. And the 1982 North Carolina National Championship team with Michael Jordan and James Worthy are going to be in the building tomorrow. So if this team loses to NC State with Roy Williams, Michael Jordan, James Worthy, and the rest of the beautiful 1982 title team in the building, that's going to be strike number 4 for me. And I didn't even think there were more strikes. I had already struck out, but there will be another strike. This
is T-ball. This is youth baseball. There's unlimited strikes. You just have to put a ball in play.
Just make contact. Just make contact. And then Florida State is our last tournament team in the ACC. They're a 9 seed according to Lenardi. They're
6 bids.
5 bids.
5 bids.
5 bids. Notre Dame not in. 6 teams.
Notre Dame's not in.
Not according to Lenardi. Not according to
Maybe Duke and Kentucky.
And Carolina at home as well. I mean,
they beat.
They played Duke on Monday.
No, they haven't beat Duke.
They played Duke at Monday at home. So if they beat Duke at home on Monday, that'll probably stamp them into the tournament. But it also really hurt Duke. You know what I mean? So
oh my God.
It's a dangerous game that we're playing. And I think Mike Bray maybe lets Coach K win that one, out of respect for the farewell tour. But that's your ACC update. 5 bids.
How does Carolina salvage their season? It's beat Duke.
That's the only thing they can do.
Beat Duke.
Don't embarrass yourself by losing to State, and beat Duke at least once. That's how you say
If Carolina if Carolina beats Duke once, loses the other game, it's blown out the other game. So you beat Duke in Chapel Hill. Duke beats you by 21 in Durham. You lose the first game of the ACC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You lose the first game of the NCAA tournament. Has the sting? Do you have something to clutch onto, or are you just like get this?
Last year we did. Last year was like we swept Duke.
Yeah,
and Duke didn't make the tournament. So
that's true. So that was
last year. That was when Brad Davison did what he did. That was my first thought. I'm like, this is miserable. But at the same time, we swept Duke.
What if Carolina's an 8-9 seed? They win the first game of the tournament. Then they're playing the 1 seed, and they lose by 7 in a close fought. Does that give you hope and optimism? Do you walk away from it saying like, man, I'm not gonna panic. I'm not gonna jump ship yet. No. Okay. All right.
I'm like staring out to in the abyss, and all I hear is "Hello, darkness, my old friend." I don't know what the answer is for this team, but I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more fun stories in the ACC to talk about, like Miami, than North Carolina right now. And I'm not even going to go to the Duke game. I mean, that says a lot about where we are right now. That and my brother, he was like going to go to the state game tomorrow, 1982 team. He's like, I'm just going to do stuff with the kids and stuff.
I'm surprised.
That's where we are.
Carolina hasn't. Never mind. I'm not going to say it.
What do you mean? What they haven't done what?
No, I'm not going to say it.
What's the next thing that they can do?
I'm not going to say it.
They've already broken my heart.
I'm not going to.
I can't die again. I'm already dead.
That's the ACC update, huh? Yeah. Is Alondes Williams your ACC player of the year right now?
My ACC player of the year.
Not Wendell Moore, not Paolo Banchero?
No.
Okay.
In fact, Wendell Moore.
Goodwin?
Wendell Moore is a better case than Paolo at this point, I think.
I would agree with that.
Also, Armando Bacot, Hubert Davis called him the ACC Player of the Year. So I just want to say, update, he's not. Alondes Williams is definitely the answer.
Should I start putting Hubert Davis? I should put Hubert Davis on the fraud power.
No, it's hyperbolic Hubert.
Yeah.
And I will say, Andy Katz did his top 10 new coaches in college basketball. He put Hubert at number 10, which I really appreciated. At least, you know what I mean?
How many are there? 10?
I think there are 10.
They're literally 10. Oh, my God.
Call Brad Stevens. That's all I got to say. You and I are gonna end up. That'll be like our show forever. It's like these two guys trying to convince
when Brad Stevens takes a coaching job, like we're like the people that are saying Tom Brady's gonna retire for the last 15 years,
Exactly.
and then it's finally gonna happen. You'll be like,
I told you. Yeah, he's over the cliff.
That's us with Brad Stevens.
We're Max Kellerman.
Remember when you guys all said Brad Stevens would never take another coaching job?
Gotcha.
Suck it. You're all wrong. All right, let's wrap it up. Shout out to close out.
Oh man,
What is there? Andrew Wiggins is an NBA All-Star.
Yeah.
That one. I want to start with that one. Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has officially won the debate with Jabari Parker over who is the next LeBron of the 2013 recruiting class. Because Jabari Parker was the next LeBron.
Yes.
And then Andrew Wiggins, if I remember right, he reclassed, right?
Yeah. Huntington, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Huntington Prep.
He reclassed, and when he reclassed, everyone was like, Jabari Parker, who is the next LeBron James, you are no longer the number 1 recruit in the country. You have been bumped down to number 2.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins is also the next LeBron James. He is the new number 1. I remember being very confused about this because I was like, how can we have 2 guys be the next LeBron, and they're both in the exact same class?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
I now realize that this happens every year. But at the time, I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. Who was actually the next LeBron? It's Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is the next LeBron. He's Maple Jordan. Is that what they call him?
Yeah, that's what his nickname was.
Or that's RJ Barrett now. Or is
no,
nickname-
Wiggins was Air Canada.
Air Canada. Yeah.
That's what they called Vince.
But then they stole it. Then they reappropriated to.
No, Maple
him.
Jordan was Wiggins.
Well, what's
He was,
RJ now?
What's
What's
RJ?
RJ?
I don't know.
I think he's Maple Jordan. Or no, he's Mamba. Or Maple
Maple Mamba.
Mamba. He's Maple Mamba. That's what he is. He's Maple Mamba. I was like, they have some other No,
Oh my
regardless,
God.
none of the Canadians are any good other than like Jamal Murray or whoever. But you know.
Pull that. Regardless, none of the Canadians.
What about Terrence and Phillip?
Jim Carrey's pretty good. I like
No,
that.
no. I mean, there's some great actors. and
Pamela
comedians.
Anderson?
Don't get me wrong. We're talking
Come
about
on, what
not
the
talking about
hell?
entertainers. Not talking about entertainers.
Steve Nash.
Man, Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid both being on that Kansas team and not. I mean, I know there was some injuries and stuff, but like the fact that they're both all-star starters now and you can work yourself back. You know, if you're a
They
Kansas
lost to
fan,
Stanford in the second round.
I know
for
that's got to
the
be
10
tough.
seed Stanford.
Yeah, that's got to be tough to look
Yeah.
back on.
But Embiid didn't play in that game.
I know.
That
But
team
Wiggins
wasn't-
is an all-star starter.
to
You don't
that,
lose in the second round as
to
an
that-
all-star starter. And then some people would say, well, Kevin Durant did. And I'm like, yeah,
to
maybe
that
you're
point.
right.
That's another team though. Like what makes me distrust Kansas this year, where like that team lost to a like it. Even
I
with them
think
beat out,
the
like,
best thing that happens to Kansas this year is that people are off the scent, you know?
Yeah.
That's why like I picked them to and I bet on them to win the national championship, but I don't want to talk about them, you know,
You bet on Kansas to win.
when I was
start
in
of the
Cherokee,
season?
North Carolina, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's more.
60-1 odds.
Yeah, that's more defensible.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But shout out
Shout out to
the
Andrew Wiggins.
All-Stars.
What else is there?
I want to shout out to, I mean, I'll go back to the All-Star pool. I want to shout out to the fact that the NBA does not respect the game of basketball because
duh.
if well, we know that, but if they did,
Because they let guys travel.
if they did, there's no world in which Devin Booker or Chris Paul do not start in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
The Suns are the best team in basketball. If you haven't kept up with the NBA, I mean, it's not even in a debate. I know that we talk about LeBron and the Lakers all the time, but the Lakers are barely going to make the playoffs. They're a 500 team.
Yeah.
The Suns are 16 games in front of the Lakers now, I believe. 16 games in front of the
Wow.
Lakers. Have the best backcourt in basketball, and neither one of those guys is starting in the All-Star game. Granted, Steph Curry, John Morant, hard to argue those two guys, but someone from the Suns should be starting.
Jim, did you see the you're the G League correspondent that never talks about the G League. You only talk about Donda. But
I have an update for that,
Same
by the way.
thing.
the speaking of the All-Star stuff, they're G League players. You have to explain this to me.
Rising Stars game.
The Rising Stars game, they're now letting G League players,
I can't explain it to you.
G League Ignite players
Yeah.
play in the Rising Stars game.
Mhm.
And then there's like some draft going. I don't
There's
know.
like a tournament of teams. They're basically making like a 3x3U type tournament, and then it's a race to 75.
Dude, what is the NBA doing? It might be a good idea. It's like
The
I-
wor- yeah.
I like it. What was it?
I think that's every
That is
NBA media person.
you can work at NBA media, Jim. Like,
I
I have
like
no idea
it.
what this is, but if Adam Silver told me
It
it's
sounds
good,
provocative.
let's do it.
Let's
Keep
do it.
going.
And then meanwhile, like all the NBA people shit on Roger Goodell as like an evil human being and the worst commissioner in sports. And Roger Goodell's like, you know what my strategy is for running the NFL? I'm gonna do what we've done
Yeah,
for
he's-
100 years.
He's like, run it back.
run it back. do the exact same thing.
Another one.
Yeah, can you imagine Roger Goodell being like, all right, for this year, that's why like the overtime rules come up, and Roger's like, honestly, to be completely honest with you, like changing it from first team to score 6 points, unless this, like whatever the rule is now. He's like, that was already a bridge too far for me because in my mind, we don't play this.
We like defense.
Just it's hilarious. Hilarious
That's
that
where we live in.
Yeah.
Can we get a Donda update, by the way?
Yeah. Not only were they on the cover of Slam magazine, but next Saturday, February 5th, Donda will be playing in their second homecoming game of the season.
Does that ever happen?
Would you? Yeah, and they have no alumni to come home, but it's fine. So, do you want to take a guess where they're playing the second homecoming game?
I know, so I can't guess.
Did they like rent out Staples Center somehow or crypto.com, whatever they call it?
They're about 2,000 miles off.
What? Where are they playing?
2,500 miles, maybe. They're playing in Chicago.
Because it's a Kanye homecoming. That's how it was described as me. Because Kanye's coming home to Chicago, and he's bringing the Doves with him.
Donda Academy.
They're the Doves?
They're the Doves.
Yeah.
And so the school is
The Donda
the school is based out of like where's it supposed to be?
Simi Valley.
Simi Valley.
Yeah.
There's a field up there.
And their homecoming game is in Chicago.
There's a little flag,
I
on the
love
ground.
Donda so much.
I know, it's the best. And their
Oh,
dean is from Chicago, so they're playing the game there.
Oh my god.
They're Dinda.
So also though, there's 4 teams. It's like a weekend event,
Yeah.
and there's Simeon High School, which was
Yeah.
Yeah, Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose,
Benji
Benji,
went there,
yeah. And then Kenwood and Hillcrest. But they say it may not happen because Donda does not have the adequate information for the Illinois High School Association to sanction this event,
Checks out.
which is amazing.
That's so good.
It's kind of like what was it? Archbishop what were they called?
Archbishop Malloy.
Yeah, that was it. It's got like reminds me of that without
Kenny
having this
Smith.
information
Yeah.
a little bit. It's kind of weird that they can't even.
Bishop Sycamore, the football
That's
team.
it.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's
Yeah.
Bishop
I was like,
Sycamore.
Archbishop
I'm trying to-
Malloy
yeah,
is
who
where
was that? Was
that's
that-
where Kenny Smith went.
Oh,
yeah, that's like a New
that's
York
it. I'm
high
like,
school.
that didn't sound right.
No,
Like,
Donda-
lawyer
I
Malloy?
thought you knew
Lawyer
something
Malloy?
about Archbishop
Yeah.
Malloy.
Donda definitely is Bishop Sycamore.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I think when
Just has
Kanye
that
saw
vibe.
that Bishop Sycamore story, I think that was
like I could do
I
that.
could do that.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll be good.
Yeah.
But to Kanye's, like, it feels like he's actually got good players. Because Bishop Sycamore's thing was like, wasn't that the story? Like, we're a great football academy, and like the guys were
But
like,
they don't have good
Some of the
players.
best men.
they have like 13
around.
guys on the roster, and
And
they're
it's
all
like
and they're-
30-year-old.
Yeah,
yeah, 30-year-olds that
25,
work
30.
construction.
It was the
Mhm.
replacements. Yeah, basically.
His nephew Kyle,
But
playing outside linebacker for Bishop.
Yeah. Cigarette butt hanging out of his mouth in the game, in the huddle. By the way, that Donda's second homecoming, you can stream it on Peacock.
Oh my god!
Hell yeah.
We gotta watch that.
Hell yeah.
We have a watch
we should
party.
wa- You know
We should
that?
watch it here. We should do a live watch show.
Well,
here.
it's the same day as the Carolina Duke game.
Oh, we're not watching Carolina, dude. We're watching.
No,
Donda.
that's what I'm
No,
saying.
we're
I
watching
think we
real
watched Donda over that.
What
over
time's
that
the
Did
game?
Donda beat Carolina?
Should we
this year?
do no for real? Should we do like a live watch party of Don? Is it right before the Duke Carolina game?
I hope it's the same time.
Let me see.
'Cause we're gonna-
we
we're
could
gonna-
go to
we could do a
it.
double header, dude.
Tickets are $20 to $500 on Ticketmaster.com.
$500.
I'm serious.
Where are they playing in Chicago? Do we know? United Center.
University of Illinois, Chicago. Their
Oh,
arena.
that's all right.
It's called the something.
Amazing. Anything else, Tate? Any other shout outs as Jim is looking up?
UIC's Credit Union One Arena.
All right.
Dude, I literally, when I look
Oh,
up Robert Dillingham, who is the best player on Donda, it's
Mhm.
him at Carolina.
I thought it was going to be a picture of Kanye. Honestly, I thought
he's
it
going to
was a
NC
picture of
State?
Kanye.
It's him going to it's him at Carolina being like, this is my favorite school I want to play for. And now he's at Donda and going to NC State.
It should be a picture of Kanye from
Oh.
a Stronger video.
Does okay? So Saturday they play at it says 3 p.m. Pacific.
Also-
Duke Carolina. What time's the Donda
Well,
game?
Kansas plays Kentucky also, right? At 3:00.
No, that's the set.
Oh, that's this Saturday.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
next
yeah,
Saturday.
Donda.
It says
What time they
Donda's
play?
at 5:30 p.m.
Pacific.
Doesn't give a time zone. Donda doesn't believe in time zones, so
Where does it say though? Is it Google?
Chicago.
But no, I'm
This
just
is
like
Ticketmaster.
oh, Ticketmaster.
So that's probably the local
That's
time on
local
the
time.
ticket. I'm
Local.
guessing.
So that's
Yeah.
that would be before that's 2:30. Oh, it's gonna be like the same time.
Oh, we'll watch Donda.
No, wait, Chicago's is
2
is-
hours.
Is 2 hours.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If
So
a train leaves Chicago
Yeah.
traveling 80 miles per hour.
My God. All right. Let's get the hell out of here. What else do we have? Oh, shout out to the dude. I feel bad because I tried to find the DM so I could credit him, and it was my DMs are a cesspool right now. I gotta tighten that up. I gotta figure. Two things I gotta work on over the weekend: chopsticks, using chopsticks,
And check DM.
and check DM.
Check your
I gotta clean up the DMs. But some guy DM'd me last week, I think, and it was pointed out to me that Bruce Pearl and Auburn are ranked second in the coaches poll for this is the second week in a row. They were second last week when everyone was losing their mind about them not being number one.
Yeah.
They're second this week. He pointed it out last week, and the reason he thought it was funny was because to him it was a reflection that all the coaches hate Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
And don't want to vote for him number one.
100%.
So Auburn beats Kentucky. You would think like everyone was like, okay, well
You
Auburn's
have to
definitely
now.
you have to
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Auburn is still number 2 in the coaches poll.
Who's number one?
Gonzaga.
I love that.
So
It goes to show that Mark Few is actually the king of college
Yeah.
basketball.
I wish I could give the guy credit. I'm so sorry, dude, but it's a team game. You don't have to.
But we have to point out, like, I really love Jabari Smith. I really love the Auburn. Most of the Auburn fans I've dealt with in my life have been great people.
They're great. They're
This
fun.
is about. This
They're
is
fun.
Like Auburn is separate of Bruce Pearl. You know what I mean? That's what they need to understand. We're
Auburn
talking about
fans-
Bruce Pearl, and that's
yeah.
separate of Auburn. Auburn basketball over here, I enjoy.
When Bruce Pearl takes the Louisville job, I will definitely love. I'll go all in on loving Auburn. I promise you that. Oh, the Auburn fans remind me of the Texas Tech fans from the 2019.
Yeah,
Final Four,
yeah,
which
yeah.
Auburn was at, by the way. But they just seem like a good time. It seems fun, but unfortunately,
Their coach.
I don't love your coach. Games to watch this weekend: Michigan at Michigan State. Tate.
Yep.
The game that they were supposed to play. as
Ducking,
you know.
dodging.
A lot of ducking. If
Yeah.
the game will not take place, you know where to turn
Mhm.
if you want to get the info. If do not trust any other source if this game does not happen.
I
They
think-
say it's not
I think
happening.
that-
Don't trust it until we
I
confirm.
think that scoop ruffled a lot of feathers
It did,
in the college basketball community. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There's a lot of people that used
Can
to be
I-
very friendly that have changed their tune ever since we became scoopers.
I'm in my feelings a little bit about Andy saying that you had a couple great scoops and he didn't say anything about me. So I just want to say that for the record, I had that scoop. That was me that got the scoop.
Yeah.
The
That's your
Michigan,
scoop.
that was
That's
my
your
scoop.
That's your scoop.
I need this one.
You need that.
It legitimately was.
The
and
only
I need
scoop
people
I
to know
want is
that
Coach
because,
K.
yeah.
And I think that's what he was referencing, but I don't think he even remembered what the scoops were. So he was just like, yeah.
Just remember, I remember you guys like tweeting a bunch about how you're disrespected, and that's all I really remember. But Michigan and Michigan State. There's Ohio State plays at Purdue on Sunday. That should be a good one.
Yep.
Marquette is at Providence on Sunday. Huge Big East ramifications. First time they played, Marquette beat the hell out of Providence. Marquette's red hot. And Providence, I think, is the top of the Big East.
Yeah, Marquette's
right now.
fans have been very upset that we have not acknowledged the fact that they're playing so well. So Marquette, we speak your name.
We speak your name. We've
Yeah.
been we speak their name.
I know they get upset.
And then Big 12 SEC Challenge underway this weekend. Kansas at Kentucky at Kansas, I'm sorry, is the marquee one, I think. But
3 o'clock Pacific.
Baylor at Bama could be a good one. Alabama, the number one make shots team in the country. Maybe they're making shots on this day, and the Baylor game could be a good one.
Sneaky game, Oklahoma
I
at
agree.
Auburn.
I agree.
That's a sneaky game.
That is a sneaky game.
Porter Moses is a good coach.
That is a sneaky game. Oklahoma at Auburn. Tennessee is at Texas. Rick Barnes going back to Texas.
Ooh.
That has my attention.
Yeah, it has my attention. Too.
That has my attention. Mississippi State at Texas Tech's another sneaky one I thought could be pretty good.
Mm.
That I don't think anyone's really going to watch, for being honest. But
Mississippi
I think
State's
if you
a
do
better
watch,
team than you would
it'll be-
expect.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
do watch, I think you'll enjoy it.
Mhm.
So I'll say that if you're a college hoops junkie, you should watch that game.
Yeah, do it.
Is that it? Did I hit any other shows? Oh, this one's from my mom. Janae, I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Probably not. Janae Terry of Purdue, on the Purdue women's basketball team, got a triple double last night. Her second
Ooh.
triple double. She's the first Boilermaker to ever have 2 triple doubles. I don't know if that includes the men. I'm gonna say it does.
I think it does.
I'm gonna say it does.
Yeah.
So shout out to Janae Terry for her second triple double of the season.
And
And
I love to hear that. Speaking of women's sports, shout out to the UNC women. Beat Duke last night.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'm actually a women's basketball fan.
Well,
So
women's
I'm
basketball.
going to start talking about UNC women's basketball for the rest of the year.
All right. Thank you to Andy Katz for joining us. Thank you guys for listening. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Live show Tuesday night.
Yep.